Did you know that about 70% of adults have experienced at least one traumatic event in their lifetime? Not just women. What if I told you that understanding how trauma affects our lives is actually the key that unlocks the door to true healing? I'm Soleil Rain, and I've been through over 20 major traumatic events in my lifetime. I want to share with you three coping tips that have helped me remain resilient. You're already tuned in, so stay with me. This may save someone's life.
Heaven knows just what you need. Let all good things rain down on every planet seed. So lay a transformation, that's me.
Trauma is defined as distressing events that make it difficult for a person to cope. For example, it can be as mild as fear of spiders, insects, fear of heights, remembering a past event of drowning or near death experiences. And it can also be traumatic as suffering through physical abuse consistently. For those of you who have made it through, I applaud you for your strength and resilience. But for some who are still going through traumatic events, I want to share some coping tips on how you actually can endure the trauma and maintain your sanity, even. The first coping strategy that I'd like to offer is simply to acknowledge what you're feeling in the moment. Whether you're trying to get over your fear of heights by walking a tightrope or going bungee jumping, feel everything that you're feeling. Recognize each emotion, name it. Say, okay, fear is present, anxiety is present, there's shakiness in my knees. Whether you're faced with an attacker or in a car accident, recognize that, okay, I'm panicking, but know that you can be the observer. You don't have to try to be brave and suck up your emotions and suppress them to the point of not acknowledging them. That actually harms you in the long run. I remember my oldest son, he always was afraid of spiders growing up, and I had to figure out what caused him to be afraid of spiders. But this boy was never afraid of anything else. Only if he saw a spider, he would run and scream and holler. He'd get far away from it, especially if it was the daddy long legs or the brown recluse spider. And I had to think about when he was a baby. I had a starter home out in the country, and I had learned about the brown recluse spiders around that time. And since he was a really small baby, I wanted to pay attention to if I put him down to play or whatever, make sure that I'm looking for tiny, tiny spiders that are almost invisible to the naked eye. So if I saw a spider, I would jump and get it and move it out. And sometimes I didn't like to kill insects around that time. So I tried to throw it away or put it somewhere else or let it go outside. And I realized that maybe my baby recognized that that's what mama is afraid of. But I wouldn't jump around anything else. Our house was nice and neat and clean, so we didn't have roaches when he was very small. It wasn't until older, traveling and moving around a little bit, that he would see a roach here and there at someone's house, a friend's house. But he didn't know to be afraid of them. But spiders, I don't think he ever got over them. The second coping strategy I would recommend is to find a way to meditate, to calm yourself. Whether you do chanting mudras, putting your hands in a certain position and saying Om, getting to a place of peace within inside of yourself, or journaling, mindfulness in whatever method that you can actually feel comfortable with. Journaling, writing down exactly what you're feeling, whether it's if you're able to write down while you're feeling it or after the fact that the trauma has subsided or you're out of the situation, that would actually help you kind of experience it, feel it, and release it. you're enduring that trauma. And also going for walks, getting some exercise, moving your body, starting to dance, to energize yourself, aliven yourself. Let yourself know that I'm still here. Yes. Whew, that was rough. Some people may do some running in place or jumping jacks and get out of that little fear emotion. Thirdly, I would say it's definitely wise to seek support through your family, friends, and even professional help. Someone who can understand what you're going through, what you're dealing with, and encourage you to keep building that resilience. They can encourage you to talk about what you've experienced, recognize why you've felt that way or what could have possibly been different. How could you calm yourself in the moment if it's after the fact? And even how you may diffuse the situation if you're engaging with someone who has traumatized you or who has abused you or affected you in some way, form, or fashion. There are ways that you can simply talk about it and release the emotions around it. But of course, it's a process. It's definitely, we're on the stage of enduring it and recognizing sometimes we can't get away from these situations. Sometimes it may be something that's happening on your job. Maybe there's a bully, someone who belittles you, demeans you, talks down to you every time you come to work. And you need your job or you want your job and it pays good money. But what do you do when you're faced with that individual on a consistent basis? It's time to lift your head up and know that you can survive through everything that life throws at you. Tell yourself that. Tell yourself that I'm strong. I can make it. And when the time is right, that situation will dissolve itself. That person may get a new job and may move away. You may get out of that bad relationship. You may find the courage. But in the meantime, as you're building yourself up, seeking for the strength to address the situation completely and be rid of it, know that you can be strong. You can make it through. I'm a living witness. Oh my goodness, I can tell so many stories of things I've experienced. There was a time that I was in a bad marriage, and I definitely don't say that the person I was married to was necessarily a bad person, but he was going through some things in his life. There was a big transition. He got married for the first time. I was married for the first time. But as he began to share with other people that he was married and so forth, they began to ask questions and throw things at him and give him advice. And he was all shaken up. So he took out his frustration and anxiety on me. A lot of times I will give him the silent treatment. I would listen. Sometimes I would tell him to shut up, be quiet, don't say that to me. And it got to a point where I would just go to my office, the extra bedroom that we had in the house, and I would just turn on my computer and begin to type. Okay, I woke up today and he was angry. He said this to me. He said that to me. And oh, here he is following me in the room. I'm trying not to feel anything. I'm trying not to get too upset. And that actually helped diffuse the situation. He was like, oh, so you're just going to ignore me, huh? And sometimes that would actually help. Other times it would cause him to get into an even greater rage. So I keep typing. Let him know, don't you have something to do? Don't you have to go to work? Don't you have to go do this? To not get my emotions too deeply involved in the situation. There was another situation after my divorce. I got out in the dating world again. And there was a guy I met who had a drinking problem and a drug problem. But he assured me that, oh, I've been clean for 5 years. I've been sober for 5 years. And I wanted to give him a chance. He was an older guy. I'd been through a lot, and I liked his accent. He was a native New Yorker, but I was from Mississippi at the time. And once I made the decision to move in with him, which was kind of early, he told me, you're mine now. I better never see you talk to any other man. I love you, girl. And I was so shocked. All I could do was say, okay, I'm yours. Okay, I love you. you know, and he took me out and bought a bottle of wine and just 2 glasses of wine, set him over the top. And I didn't think about it at first because it was so new. And yes, we had talked about the sobriety and the fact that he doesn't drink, he doesn't do drugs and so forth. And I was like, well, I don't drink that much, so wine doesn't really affect me. And I didn't know much about people in recovery and alcohol and so forth. But he began to spiral down into this dark place and he began to abuse me. This was my first real abusive relationship. And I was in shock. I didn't know. I stayed with him for 2 months thinking that, okay, he's got to get this out of his system. I assured him that we won't do any drinking anymore and whatever. Um, he even tried to buy marijuana for me when I was a smoker, and I was like, okay, let's stop this. Let's. I tried to help him, but it was a little too late. I found myself in the police station, pleading and expressing what had happened and how he was abusive to me. And there was an officer in the city that we lived in who recognized this guy by name. And then I showed him pictures of him. He was like, oh, this guy has done this to another woman before. And he showed me pictures of a woman in the hospital who had been beaten nearly to death within inches of her life. And he said, this could have been you if you had stayed a little bit longer. I had no idea that he had this type of anger within inside of himself. I was able to make it through because I had internal coping strategies. And I had internal joy. I had poetry. I was a singer. I would just take myself out of the mindset of the trauma. Over the next several months, as I remembered the situation, I would be shaken. But as long as I had life within me, I was grateful. And just taking it one breath, one heartbeat at a time, I survived that circumstance and many others that I've experienced throughout my life. Just sharing with you today, I feel that there is someone who is dealing with trauma on a level that you've never imagined that you would experience. I want you to recognize that as long as there's life and breath in you, there is hope. Even if you have to sit and inhale and hold your breath just briefly and then let it out, relaxing your shoulders, paying attention to your body, relaxing your eyes, your face, every part of yourself, your knees, your ankles, your feet, your thighs, just taking a breath, holding it, then releasing it out of your mouth. And when you feel that release and hold the air out of you until you feel your need for inhaling again, that gives a little jarring to the system that, okay, I'm here. Be here now. I'm here. I just want to take you through, most of the time I do the meditation with music, but today I want to breathe with you, letting you know that I am here with you. You have support. You can reach out. You can check in the comments for a Lifeline phone number to call in an emergency. And as I mentioned, I'm not just talking to women here. There are men who have found themselves in traumatic circumstances, in situations that you've had to simply live through. So, if you will indulge me, let's take a few deep breaths and recognize how to breathe. We want to breathe in through the nose, holding the breath for at least 5 seconds. Then, when you blow the breath out through the mouth, hold before taking in your breath, your next breath, at least 5 seconds. Okay? So just breathe with me. Hold, hold, hold. Hold, hold, holding before taking that breath, knowing that life is seeking you just as much as you're seeking it, feeling that desperation to breathe, knowing that you can breathe again, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing your ears, relaxing your jaws, your eyes, your mouth. Allow everything to be still and calm within your body, knowing that you are here now. Just taking a few regular breaths, and then we're going to hold again. So we're going to breathe in through the nose and hold for 5 counts. And then out through the mouth. Okay, so when you hold in before you take your next breath, simply keep the air out. See if this works for you. There are other coping strategies that you can definitely play around with. If you set small goals for yourself, things that you can accomplish, whether you like to write poetry, write stories, share insights, crochet, paint, draw, set a goal in physical activity. If you want to walk a mile within a certain amount of time, 5 miles, set a personal goal and allow yourself to chart your success. That can also take you away from the trauma as you're dealing with it on a daily basis and attempting to endure, attempting to sustain yourself through understanding why you found yourself in this situation. As I mentioned, understanding the trauma and how it shapes our lives. Everything that doesn't take us out of this world, hardships, trials, situations that seem very hard to bear, it can build resilience and build your strength for the next situation because life is full of ups and downs. There's no guarantee that we will have a smooth sailing in the seas of life. Many of us go through the school of hard knocks and experience so much pain, so much trauma. But I'm here to let you know that although life can seem good and okay, there is something greater in store. There is a greater existence. Look to that. Set the goals for yourself so that you can achieve that greatness, knowing that you don't have to just settle for surviving. You can thrive. You can thrive. Allow yourself that opportunity to reach out into the universe from within yourself. Show up to life, knowing that you can overcome and that you will overcome. Just take it one day, one moment, one step at a time. If you found value in this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share with someone who needs this, and comment on how you've survived and thrived even after trauma. Stay tuned for the next videos In this series, we're going to be talking about clearing out the trauma, overcoming the trauma, and so forth. So stay tuned. We have more to come on this topic. Thank you. I am Solea Rain, your personal lifestyle consultant, writer, motivational speaker. It is my honor to be in this moment with you. Wholeness, peace, and love. Until next time.